Hilariously, Donald Trump had to fly to Washington, D.C., stand before a magistrate judge, look her in the face, and plead not guilty to crimes that she and everybody else in the country know he committed in his attempts to steal the 2020 election from Joe Biden. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. So, according to the New York Times, Donald Trump pled not guilty on Thursday to charges that he conspired to remain in office despite his 2020 election loss, appearing before a judge in a Washington courthouse. Donald Trump stood before a federal magistrate judge who asked for his plea to the 4 counts he faced, I think, which was like conspiracy to defraud the United States and a couple of conspiracy charges to obstruct an official proceeding, which, of course, was the certification of Electoral College ballots on January 6, 2021. He replied not guilty. So the magistrate judge ordered Donald Trump not to communicate with about the case with any of the witnesses except through counsel or in the presence of counsel. At the request of Trump's lawyer, she set a date for the first hearing before the trial judge, Tanya Chutkin, more on her in a moment, the latest option she provided. Now, obviously, Donald Trump's best effort, or the best strategy in his mind, is to delay all of these trials for as long as possible, hopefully, in his case, win the election, and then he would effectively be immunized from prosecution as the sitting president of the United States. Because most legal scholars agree this man is screwed on the legal merits. Winning the presidency is his best bet, which is yet another reason why we have to keep him from doing that, why it is so important, one of the many, many, many reasons why you have to vote, you should vote, if you're responsible at all and you're an eligible voter, for Joe Biden to keep Donald Trump out of the White House. The New York Times reports that the jockeying over the dates began on Thursday. After the judge gave prosecutors a week to propose a trial date, one of Trump's lawyers, John Avloro, complained that the government had years to investigate and that he and his colleagues were going to need time to fairly defend their client. She directed him to bring it up with the trial judge and for prosecutors to respond within 5 days of his filing. Following the hearing, Donald Trump spoke at the Reagan National Airport saying, "This is a very sad day for America." Trump said he was a victim of persecution by President Biden's Justice Department. "This was never supposed to happen in America," he said before boarding his private plane to return to Bedminster, New Jersey. Now, it's actually kind of sad that a lot of people resonate with that sentiment. This is never supposed to happen in America. No, what wasn't supposed to ever happen in America was a chief executive or former chief executive who's trying to be a chief executive again to behave as corruptly and nefariously and authoritarianly as Donald Trump. That's not what's supposed to happen. But at the end of the day, we're all supposed to be beholden to the law. The law is supposed to apply to everyone. And so if the unthinkable happens, which is a chief executive behaving as corruptly as Donald Trump did, then the law should ruthlessly punish him just as it would anybody else. So it's disgusting. But I did want to bring up Tanya Chutkin, the trial judge that Donald Trump is going to be facing, because I didn't realize this. I was actually familiar with her, and I imagine many of you are too, because Chutkin was the judge who made many of the harshest sentences against the January 6 rioters. Okay, this woman has thrown the book at insurrectionists. So Donald Trump, you know how Aileen Cannon, the trial judge presiding over Trump's first federal indictment in Florida, how that was a very lucky draw for him because a lot of people say she's biased in favor of Trump. She was appointed by Trump. She bent over backwards to accommodate him during the classified documents investigations last year. She was actually rebuked by a conservative appellate court. They were like, "Woman, you were absolutely ridiculous here. Your interpretation of the law was stupid." They repudiated her. This judge, Tanya Chutkin, is the exact opposite. She is the worst straw that Trump could probably get because she is not shy about harshly punishing insurrectionists. So I can't imagine what she's going to do to the mastermind of that insurrection. But more interestingly, she also had a great line in a case against Trump in the past. So let me find it here. In November 2021, Chutkin wrote in a ruling that congressional interest in seizing illuminating presidential correspondent on January 6 evidence was strong. She also acknowledged that President Biden had waived executive privilege because this was at the time that Donald Trump's attorneys were trying to keep the January 6 committee from accessing correspondence pertaining to the Trump White House regarding January 6. They tried to block it. And this is what she wrote, and this is a great line. "Presidents are not kings, and plaintiff is not president. plaintiff being Donald Trump. Chutkin wrote in a ruling. At bottom, this is a dispute between a former and incumbent president, and the Supreme Court already made clear that in such circumstances, the incumbent's view is accorded greater weight. Because, of course, Donald Trump can claim as a former president executive privilege, but it's really reliant on whoever the sitting president is to sustain it. Be like, yeah, the former guy requested executive privilege. I'm going to back that up. But President Biden chose not to, which, of course, is the right decision to make. So, yeah, this is a judge who is known for harshly punishing insurrectionists and writing really awesome clapbacks against Donald Trump and his attorneys in court rulings. So this part does not look good for Donald Trump, and it almost makes you believe in some sort of weird cosmic balance, because I remember after Aileen Cannon was chosen as Trump's trial judge for the Florida case, I was so disappointed. I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is basically the closest thing to a get out of jail free card for him, because many people are worried about how she'll preside over the case. And I still am, quite frankly, although many eyes are on her, much more so, especially after her conduct last year. But it almost makes you believe in cosmic balance, because this judge is the antithesis. Tanya Chutkin is the antithesis of Aileen Cannon. And Donald Trump, his sphincter is probably quite clenched now that he drew her name to judge his crimes pertaining to the 2020 presidential election. Good luck, Donnie.